Grand Rising, everybody. How are you today? I won't be before you long, so I gotta hurry up. Gotta post on social media. Hey, what city are you tuning in from? What have you learned thus far from Blueprint for Black Power? What's your favorite part? What are things that you want to expound on that I may not have? What are some of the books you want me to read that I haven't read? What are some of the books that I have read that you want me to recycle and read again? Let me know. In the meanwhile, I'm gonna go ahead and get here. So if you're paying attention, just let them know in the chat. Hey, man, like, share, subscribe. We need all the support we can get. Here we go. I'll be right with you. What city you tuning in from? What did you like thus far in Blueprint for Black Power? What stood out to you the most? And I'll be right with you. I got to share this to several places. Share it to the news feed. 1 second. Let's see how fast we get it today. All right, we got it in one place. Let's see if we can get it at another. Yep, got it. We're getting there. Slowly but surely. I think I did that. I'm not sure, but I think I did that. I hope so. No, that was that. Now I gotta go here. Interesting. I'm gonna have to go elsewhere. Oh, yeah, no, that's not right. What city you tuning in from? Here we go. Okay, switching profiles. This should be last. What city you tuning in from? What have you learned most from Blueprint for Black Power? What do you like best about Blueprint for Black Power? What other books would you like for me to read? What books have I read that you'd like me to bring back and recycle and reread? What city you tuning in from? Please like, share, and subscribe. If you donate, may the ancestors return that favor to you 10,000 times. Ashe. So it is, so it will be. Mhm, mhm. Okay, I think I got more than enough. 12, 11, yeah, 7 minutes. So got a little bit faster. You know what I'm saying? Super shaking over here. Okay. So today, in part 23, we begin chapter 9, which is the policy formation process. We may refer to policy rather than informally and imprecisely, yet pragmatically, as the rules of the game, as the rules of power used to organize, direct, and regulate the activities, the production and consumption of the resources, internal and external social relations, and institutions of a society in order to defend and advance what it perceives as its overall interests. The policy process involves the means whereby society attempts to reach certain self-defined goals or to satisfy certain social needs and arrives at the rules by which it will govern its behavior in doing so. This process involves conflicting and collusive interactions between various groups of society who project different perceptions of its goals and needs and who wish to legitimate and exercise different rules by which the society's goals are to be attained and its needs satisfied. Which group will get its views and rules or a significant number of them to prevail and be accepted as the legitimate views and rules adopted by the society as a whole will depend on the social power and effectiveness of that group compared to other groups. Once rules are adopted and sanctioned by society, once they are accepted as morally justified, they can themselves be used to justify and legitimate certain social relations, privileges, and prerogatives of individual groups relative to other individual groups. In the context of our subject, the acquisition and exercise of social power, the social relations with which we are primarily concerned, are power relations between groups, between white people and black people, between dominance and subordination. Hence, the policy formation process involves, above all, the process of promulgating, establishing, and enforcing, among other rules, those governing the acquisition and exercise of power, the rules of power. For as Beetham argues, when power is acquired and exercised according to justifiable rules and with evidence of consent, we call it rightful or legitimate. Furthermore, as Beetham propounds, to be justified, power has to be derived from a valid source of authority. This is particularly true of political power. The rules must provide those who come to hold power to have the qualities appropriate to its exercise, and the structure of power must be seen to serve recognizably general interests rather than simply the interests of the powerful. These goals essentially define the outcomes the ruling elite attempts to achieve by means of the policy formation process. The policy formation process is essentially the process of rule creation. As Becker cogently contends, rule creation is an enterprising act. Behind every rule is an entrepreneur or interest group who, for one reason or another, sought to have the rule created by whose efforts legislation came into being in an effort to defend or advance his or her interest. Predominant social power can only be acquired and maintained by a particular group to the extent to which other groups can be systematically excluded from gaining equal or greater power by denying them access to sufficient social and material resources by means of which they may acquire and exercise effective power. Both access and denial of access to these means are usually determined by rules, especially the rules of access and the rules of exclusion. It is through their influence on and manipulation of the policy formation process that dominant or advantaged groups establish the rules which provide them with privileged access to property and resources, the possession and use of which permit them to acquire and maintain power over subordinate or advantaged groups. The policy formation process is a reciprocal operation. More specifically, it is a circular process. We must be mindful of the fact that the advantaged or powerful groups derive their ability to reestablish the rules of the game from their having achieved by some preliminary means, not necessarily legitimate, the important resources which enable them to impose their self-serving rules on others in the first place. After having initially set the rules, their ability to negate old rules and to generate new ones permits them to gain access to more power resources, which in turn enables them to acquire and exercise more power or retain enough power to protect their interests as long as the social system which makes their power possible retains its basic organizational and functional structure. Our argument here is that while the federal government may appear to be independent and autonomous, a government of the people and for the people, it is very heavily influenced, if not dominated, by a white male business elite network to the advantage of its members and class, and to a lesser extent, to the trickle-down benefit of the constituents of the white American nation, in general contrast to the marginalized Black American community. The essence of class rule involves the ability of a class, in this instance the white male business elite class, to influence the structure of government, obtain access to decision-making agencies and positions within government, and the ability to help shape the general political, social, economic, and foreign policies of the government. Governmental policy is not made by the president of the executive branch alone after approval by Congress. As indicated by Anchor ETAL, the image that government decision-making is primarily carried out by the president and has his staff working late at night developing guidelines he will present to a hostile Congress has little to do with reality. They contend every important political policy is the result of careful research, multiple authorship, collective judgment, and in most cases, a long period of incubation. And usually, the policymaking process will begin outside of government in groups that are established and financed by major business interests. Such groups constitute a corporate policy-making superstructure, which is based ultimately on the intercorporate and interpersonal links, which have grown and evolved since the founding of the National Civic Federation at the beginning of this century. The policy planning groups, which compose the corporate policy let me just read that part again. I think I left off something. Such groups constitute a corporate policy-making superstructure, which is based ultimately on the intercorporate and interpersonal links, which have grown and evolved since the founding of the National Civic Federation, which is the first major corporate policy planning organization at the beginning of this century. Emphasis added. The policy planning groups which compose the corporate policy-making network and regulate the overflow and outcome of the policy formation process are not solely concerned with narrow economic interests. The purviews of these policy planning groups are nearly all-encompassing, dealing with the issues which extend far beyond corporate business and trade matters. Funded by leading corporations and major foundations, these tax-exempt research and discussion organizations recruit their members from a who's who prominent individuals from leading American businesses and corporations, government leaders and administrators, outstanding academic experts, and researchers. The position papers, reports, and related policy proposals produced by the various organizations who are members of the network are often translated into public policy. Their programmatic proposals or recommendations are often translated into guidelines for governmental and American policy and a host of important ideas. Domhoff describes the nature and function of the policy planning network. It is within the policy process that the various sectors of the business community transcend their interest group consciousness and develop an overall class consciousness. The staid, STAID, what does that mean? And dignified policy formation process appears as disinterested and fair-minded as the special interest process seems self-seeking and biased. Only the national interest is of concern. Nonpartisan and objective are the passwords. The policy formation process begins in corporate boardrooms and executive suites. It ends in the innermost private offices of the government in Washington. In between the beginning and the end, there are a handful of foundations that provide the experts with money for research, as well as blue ribbon presidential commissions, which legitimate the policies to the general public and present them formally to the president. Research institutes and think tanks also are found in the inner circles of the network, and influential newspapers and magazines are important in bringing the views of the policy groups to the attention of governmental personnel. However, the central units in the policy network are such official sounding organizations as the Council on Foreign Relations, the Committee for Economic Development, the Business Council, and the American Assembly, which are best categorized as the policy planning and consensus-seeking organizations of the power elite. They are also the training grounds in which new leaders for government service are informally selected. Emphasis added. I'm going to stop there because it gets into more, and I got a lot of stuff to do today. I just wanted you to know that I'm still here. We still ticking and we still pushing forward. With that being said, I hope that your today is great and may your tomorrow be greater. Race first at all times, and at all times, race first. Hotep family.